porch is relaxing. Wrestling our guest in the 1988 state championship, not relaxing. Sir, if you would, tell us who you are.
My name is Pat Martz.
And you guys have already seen Pat. Now, you're a three-time state champion, 1988, 1990, 1991. The first video that we done, you had the VHS tape, and we said in that video, if we find the 88 or 90 video, we'd meet back up with you, and here we are. And we want to say thank you to Dave Barnes, Simon Kenton. He had the video. We was able to get with him, and we done his review, got the whole 1988 state finals, and here we are. So, Pat, we've already covered what got you into wrestling, but just a quick recap. I believe you said it was the Cole brothers, correct? One of the Cole brothers saw you in like 3rd or 4th grade and was like, hey, this kid could be something special, right?
Yep. Then Cole's got me started when I was wrestling then. Then that was in the grade school era. Then a guy named Joe Neely running a Northern Kentucky Wrestling Club, he was a referee there. He watched me wrestle, and it was kind of funny because my mom and dad are both passed away now. And he was a referee. My mom and dad never knew nothing about wrestling. Joe Neely was a referee then, and after the match, he goes, hey, son, I want to talk to your parents. And I'm like, okay, what did I do wrong? I didn't have no idea.
Yeah.
So they go over and talk to my mom and dad and says, hey, this kid's got potential. We'd like to see if we could get him wrestling in the summer. And my dad kind of looked at Joe Neely, and my dad was old school, and he kind of looked at Joe Neely and said, hey, it ain't up to me. It's up to him. If he wants to wrestle, I'll have him there. So then that's when it really kind of took off from there. It really I was wrestling year round from then on, probably from 3rd or 4th grade on.
Wow. And it paid off for you. Now, you were in the finals 4 times. 1989, you tell the story about it, and we have the 1989 footage, but that will stay in the archive. We're not going to put that one out there, but we celebrate championships on the channel. So, man, we've met with a lot of Connor guys. Todd Cole, Troy Cole, Matt Shotwell, Richie Parker, Lawrence, Rob Madden, all these guys. And it's just Connor still to this day has such a just deep-rooted tradition across the state. Everybody, remembers the teams from the 80s, your Robbie Clarkstons, you, especially you and your practice partner. I think, I'm not saying without Bertelson that, I think you guys kind of fed off each other.
Correct.
To hear both you guys say, that both you guys were good, but when you come together, you guys could have been the tag team champions of the world.
Yeah. It is in my 89 year, this year I won the state. It was John Wyan that was a weight class above me. Mm-hmm. And John Wyan and I always worked out together. And back in those days, Craig and I were battling for positions to see who ended up in wrestle-offs. So it is a lot of times my toughest match was in my own home gym.
I can believe that.
That was like toughest match because you had me at 103, you had John Wyan at 112, and then I think Craig was wrestling 119, but he could have dropped down and went to the weight, but he was wrestling me or John Wyan. Right. So you think about those 3 kids right there, or 3 guys, us as a practice partner, you get 3 state champions that are wrestling against each other every day at practice. You're talking about days. I mean, it was rough, but that's when Coach Biddle loved it because he had 3 guys that would go out all out every day at practice. I mean, we just pushed each other. Then when John Wyan graduated, then it was Craig and I, and we just pushed each other nonstop.
Yeah, and he mentions you in his video. You mentioned him, and it's just like I said, having a good practice partner, man, especially like you said, all 3 of you guys state champions. I mean, there's a lot to be said for that. There's schools, there's teams that would love to have 1 state champion, let alone 3 in consecutive weight classes, and they can, just battle it out, fellas. Go for it. You're not going to wrestle anybody tougher than somebody you sat beside of in, AP chemistry or whatever it was, back then.
I mean, we slept and lived it. I mean, we was on a practice mat. Craig and I was on a mat every day, all day. Right. I mean, we were borderline OCD almost. I mean, because Craig and I would be at school at 6 o'clock in the morning, and we'd be working out at 6 o'clock in the morning. We'd walk in to school, take a shower, and go to class the rest of the day. Then guess what? Whoever got the best of us in the morning, it's who's going to get the best of us in the evening.
Yeah.
You know, that's just how we worked out. But that's why we ended up where we did and how we did too.
Oh yeah, and I'll say, and it more than paid off. I mean, it truly, like, you know, for you and Craig both, paid off. I mean,
Correct.
exponentially, and to me
Correct.
it did anyway. But let's go over your 1988 bracket real quick, because there's a few things I want to talk about. First round, you're wrestling Eddie Ramos from Fort Campbell, and you win that. And this is what I really want to pick your brain on. It says a 16-1 decision.
Correct.
Now, did the tech fall exist in 88, or was it just a decision, or do you remember?
It was a tech fall.
Okay.
I was a real technical wrestler. That was me.
Okay.
I was really good. But if you seen that ever match, you'd hear him in the side. Just take him down, let him go. Let him up,
Yeah.
let's go. Get it done, get it over with, because you got a lot of wrestling to do.
Yeah, okay. Because the in the 1988 Dave Barnes match, he gets the point spread would have been enough for a tech fall,
Correct.
but he has him on his back, and the official, of course, lets it go, and he wins. And it doesn't really say on the video he wins by tech fall. It's just he wins by, you know, by the big point spread.
Correct.
So it's kind of just wanted some clarification on that.
But Alex, back in those days, I think you was a referee. Now, do you get more for a pinfall than a tech fall in points for a team?
Yes, you get more for a
That's
pin.
probably why they let it roll. Right.
Probably.
That's probably why they let it roll, to see if
Probably.
he can get the pin instead of the tech fall. Because I think it was a half point or a point more.
It's half a point. Half a point. Yep.
Right.
And to that, I do want to say that 1983, when Connor wins the team title, we met with Northern Kentucky, Mike Bankamper, and Wayne Bedetta, Campbell County. Connor, can't ask for two better. They're great coaches, but those two names are just legends. But Bankamper, that was like his first year coaching, and Connor come in first, Campbell County come in second, and Bankamper said that the veteran coaching ability of Bedetta told his kids, hey, let's get more pins, let's get more techs, let's not worry about decisions. And that's what really pushed Connor over the edge on beating out the team title in 1983. The quarterfinals, you're wrestling Max Claypool from Lafayette. You win that by 5-4 decision.
Correct.
A squeaker.
In matter of fact, I think if I could go back and really look, I think I met him at our Connor Invitational, and I beat him there, and it was a tight match. And I knew I was going to have a rough way to go to get through it. But being as a freshman, walking into the state championships, it's all kind of new to me. Then, even though I was wrestling on a AAU team and traveling everywhere, but it's just a lot more pressure. I mean, it's a different animal there.
Oh yeah, it's a totally different environment. And Max goes on to get third that year, so good wrestler. Then you go on to the semis. You're wrestling Tony Bridgewater from Louisville Moore, and you win that by another squeaker, a 6-5 decision.
Correct. Is I was the unknown. I mean, I was a freshman, and in my 8th grade year, I didn't make it to state because in those days they had state, semi-state, regionals, and everything else. Mm-hmm. And those days, I don't mean to veer off, but Robbie Madden and all them guys, in my 8th grade year, I was having a hard time even making the weight. So there was times that they would have me in the locker room drinking water to try to even make the bare minimum weight. Yeah. So those were the good old days. You ask Robbie Madden and them guys about that, and Johnny Bedetta, Richie Parker, they all had me drinking water to get on a scale to be able to even make the weight. So I was never at the state championships to see what it was. So these matches are tight. As Coach Bedetta would always tell you, Coach, who am I wrestling? I don't know. He bites heads off of 10-penny nails. That was his saying. He's mean. You got to get ready. Yep. So it was all kind of new, and I was the underdog.
And I get it. And you brought up Richie Parker there. whenever we done his review video on our second trip to Connor and put it out, his mohawk, man, that was the talk of the state. Everywhere I'd go for a while, everybody would either talk about how cool it was, or they'd be like, "Oh yeah, I remember that dude. He had the mohawk. He's like the first person we saw wrestling with a mohawk." So man, I like Richie. First time I ever met him, I was like, "I like this. This guy's all right."
Yeah, Richie is my 8th grade year. I had all those guys on the team, and I was the young pup. I was the one getting beat on because I could barely make weight. And those guys were up in weight, but I didn't back down from them. I'm here to wrestle, and we made it work. So I always had good partners in the gym and in the practice room that I always had to battle against.
Oh, and, yeah, of course.
I was a lightweight. I didn't matter. I'd go up in weight and wrestle up in weight. Even I did. It's just like when it was only Craig and I at practice, and here we are at 125, and Craig's weight, I think it was 132 then, or 136 or whatever it was, his senior year. We're wrestling up at 160 and 165 in a practice room.
Oh wow!
And those were, not saying we didn't have good wrestlers, but those guys could out manhandle us. And you got to learn to be able to be out manhandled, but be able to out finesse them. That's the only way we could deal with them. And that's what we always did.
No, that's an excellent way to put it, man. Before we get to the finals, you go back and of course you were, I guess, early 20s when like the UFC, like the original UFCs come out, and there was this 160-pound guy from Brazil with this new style everybody called jiu-jitsu, and he was tapping everybody out, and it was like, it's the technique. It's not how big he is. It's the technique. Look at what he's doing. He's going slow. He knows what he's doing. He's positioning. He's pulling. I mean, he's moving like a snail, but when he gets you in an armbar or a choke, it's over. It's the technique. It's not the size. And that's a perfect example. And
I mean, you've got to set a guy up. And when we get done, hopefully some younger wrestlers are watching this, I had a wise old man tell me when I was wrestling, when I was young, he said, "Go learn to play the game of chess." And I kind of scratched my head and says, "What are you talking about? I'm a wrestler. I ain't a chess player." He goes, "Just listen to me. Go learn how to play the game of chess." And I said, "Okay, I'll listen to you. Explain it to me." He goes, "Wrestling is the same thing as chess. You're setting a guy up to do what you want him to do." And he goes, "You're thinking 5 moves ahead instead of what you are here." And ever since then, I was like, okay, this guy was very, very smart. And matter of fact, that was Doug Blueball that told me that.
Okay.
And he goes, learn how to play the game of chess. He goes, you do that, it'll make you a better wrestler. You got all it takes to be a wrestler. But he goes, we got to get you mentally ready. And I'm like, okay.
And I can tell you for a fact, I'm telling you, we watched your match because after we filmed your 91, like a couple weeks later, we had the referee seminar for 2022. I put your match on, and your guillotines. All the the referees. We've all got, not all of us, but most of us, 10, 15, 20 years. Some of us a little bit more. Your Catans, a couple other guys were there, and the first time you put the guillotine on, and you were pulling his arm back, we was like, oh, stop it. Everybody was squirming, stop the match. And it kept on going, and you done it, 2 or 3 more times. And they were like, oh God, I can't watch this. I can't watch. He's going to rip his arm off. Stop the match. So I'm telling you, we had middle school state, high school state, elementary state, regional, everywhere I went, somebody would bring up that your guillotines. Like, how did he not break that guy's arm? How did he not break his, rip his shoulder out? I was like, I don't know, man. It wasn't for a lack of trying. I can tell you that.
I was never a dirty wrestler. I never was.
No.
But I was a technique wrestler. Right. And if you do it right, you won't hurt somebody, but they got to go. I mean, you got to turn. There's just, over years and years of wrestling, the right way to run a headlock. These guys running a headlock with their hips up. A headlock should never finish. The headlock should have hips down. Guys just don't teach that basic technique anymore. And I had coaches that pounded it into you.
And I can tell you that is one of, every now and then I'll go help like a youth program, or people, bring kids to my house just because I've got a little help people out, whatever. And that's what, and even with this series, people are starting to see, and it's kind of starting to trickle, is it's okay to be rough. Wrestling's rough.
Right.
It's a contact sport. I mean, that's the whole point of it, is similar weight, similar body size. Who is going to come out on top? It's not ballet. It's not, juggling scarves. This is trying to pin another man's or woman's shoulders to a mat.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Is back in my day when I was wrestling, is my son is 12. He looked at it and goes, "Oh my gosh, Dad, I didn't know you was that mean. I didn't know you was that ruthless." But he's playing football, and I try to explain to him. I says, "Look, Dakota, when I stepped out on the mat, that's my mat. Somebody's coming into my mat. It's me or him, and I ain't planning on losing. I've got to be." Just like you said, the 89, it's about champions. But you know what? The funny part is, in 89, when I got beat, I never walked off the mat throwing my headgear, never upset or nothing else, walked off with my head high. And matter of fact, if I can recall, that match went into overtime, and I got beaten in overtime.
I believe double overtime.
Right. And then I think it went back to the first person that scored. Matter of fact,
I believe that's correct.
And I walked off on my head high. You know what? I had more people come to me after that match and said, "That's what a true champion is." I didn't throw a fit, didn't get upset. I said, "Hey, he beat me today." I did learn my lesson. I will be in better shape from then on. Then you watch my 90 and 91. I was probably in the best shape you could ever see, because I could go 12 minutes nonstop. And that was a valuable lesson. And is my junior year, I was in good shape. My senior year, I had a mission to prove, because I had ACL surgery, my knee surgery done. And it was kind of funny, because I was summer wrestling when I did it, and I was at my own high school summer wrestling when I tore my knee up. And the word got out across the state so fast that I blew my knee out. I went from number 1 ranking to not even ranking in the state of Kentucky. So that is after you've done what I done, I had to have a spark to say, "Hey, I'm as good as I am, or I'm going to be better than I ever was." So that was the motivation that really pushed me my senior year, because my senior year, I was on a mission. I said, I ain't going to lose a match. I ain't going to get beat. My rule was I didn't want to be scored on, but that didn't happen. But
that
was my goal.
Just so the youngsters that are watching, 1990, we didn't have these things. We didn't have a device you could pick up and FaceTime, Zoom. Right. You didn't have TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You didn't have email. But there's an old saying, telephone, telegraph, tell a wrestler, and the word will spread. And
it went very fast.
It went from Northern Kentucky to Hopkinsville to Sheldon Clark in a span of a day, or so we've been told anyway. That's the story.
It went real quick. It went real quick.
The 1988 though, you're 103 pounds. You're in the finals against Todd Gordon from Woodford County, and if you're watching this, chances are Woodford County, dynasty, if you will. They really hadn't had the success they had in the 90s with your Joe Carrs, your Ian Horns, your Chris Dunns, all those guys. But still, it was still a dynasty. I mean, it was still starting. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Woodford County held the national dual win streak. If I'm not, it's something to that effect. They had like the longest dual streak in the history of recorded verifiable records, if you will. Correct. So, Woodford County, Todd Gordon was a senior. His record 43-2. Your record as a freshman 28-4.
Correct.
And of course, your first time at the state tournament, first time in the state finals, and you talked a little bit about it in your 91 video. But do you feel the nerves? Are you are you scared to death? Are you like, okay, this is just another match? Kind of walk us through.
Well, let me explain. Is when I was summer wrestling, you'd walk into Indianapolis at AAU Nationals. You'd have 30 mats on the floor. So the mat thing wasn't nothing big to me. But the difference is you're in a small arena, and the championship match is all there. I mean, you've got people standing around in bleachers all the way around the whole mat. And the thing that I was the first wrestler up from Northern Kentucky. And I learned very quickly is when the match started, I had people from high schools in our district was cheering for me. Our rivals, I got Campbell County, the whole Campbell County teams are cheering for me. The Simon Kenton teams, everybody in this district was pushing for me. So that was something new. I mean, I've never been there, never knew things on like that went on. So that was an experience for me. And I was one that as a freshman, man, I didn't know what was going on. It was just another match I had to go win,
Yeah.
And the Did and them's been there many, many times. So they're like, hey, you're here, dude. Let's go get it. Do what you can. Go win this match. So that was different. And me as a young person being a freshman, here I am wrestling a senior, and I'm like, wait a minute, this ain't supposed to happen, but it is. So it was a different experience. Yeah, my nerves was there.
Well, it was there. And this video has the face-off, the match, and the medal ceremony. So I think we've talked enough about it. I'm going to pull it up. So we're at Louisville Atherton Gym, 1988 on a cold February evening. But I can only imagine with the crowd, it was about 110,000 degrees inside. Enough talking about it. Let's go, man. Now, like I said, the VCR, the quality wasn't the best back in 1988. So if you see some static, just go with the ambiance. So Todd comes out first. And here you come out next. Jogging out, man, got the hoodie on. That's going to pick up and go straight into the match. Here you come out. I love those white singlets.
They look good. That was our final singlets, always.
Those are sharp. So you shoot in on a leg. Man, you're going right at him. You're not taking a back step.
Nope.
Like a honey badger, man.
Yep,
Let him have
you got to go. We want to score.
And you can tell just how loud the gym is. I mean, it's crazy loud.
All right, we're moving.
We're moving. He looks to be about a foot taller than you. Is that fair to say?
I know. It felt like it. There was a headlock miss.
So he tries to like chuck you up, but you're able to fight. And there it is. Nice trip right there. Nice takedown. You haven't got the two yet, but you're fighting for it. He's got like a deep whizzer in.
We got to score here. Come on, we got to score.
Step over and cover that ankle. Oh, keep going. There it is. So you get your two. You're not wrestling like a freshman, I can tell you that.
We got some movement still. I'm learning.
Oh, hey, you got it, man. Yeah, right there. He dropped that switch and do this re-switch. That was perfect. Now, is that a young Wayne Bedita back there in the?
Yes,
in
it
the
is.
Shirt?
Yes, it is.
I thought so.
Yep.
So
that was a Wayne Bedita and Lester Smith.
Okay. Now on top, about 10 seconds left there. You're up 2-0. Are you just taking what he gives you, or are you trying to work your offense? Because
here I wasn't riding my legs as well until I got a little bit older and learned, you know what, I can score better if I'm riding my legs. But it is all my summer wrestling, it was easy tilts. I mean, back in those days, you break it 90 degrees, you get 2 points. I mean, here you got to hold them to get those points.
Right. And he takes down on the choice.
Correct.
Because you talk about riding legs in that 91 finals, man, with that guillotine, you are a leg machine.
Right. That I learned how to ride. And here, I mean, you think I'm running a tight waist and trying to run legs, but every time I put legs in, he'd try to switch. So you learn. I should have went far ankle. and tight waist, then ride the legs.
I see we got a guest joining us behind you there.
Yep. He's sitting out so fast and so much, there ain't much I can do.
Now, do you remember hearing like the crowd being so loud? Remember Coach Padilla yelling, calling instructions out?
Oh yeah. Coach Padilla, you can hear him all the way across the gym. Didn't matter if he was the one on the mat or not. He had that voice you could hear all the way across the gym.
You guys are here at Atherton. You could probably hear him over in Middletown.
Oh yeah, you definitely could. Now finally I get an arm bar started here, but he's finally getting tired. I mean, he ain't sitting out, he ain't doing nothing. Mm-hmm. All I can do is try to ride. And back to there, you see the cheap tilts, but those tilts didn't score me no points.
Yeah.
On a freestyle side, that would score my points every time. See, there's my quick tilt. I'd have got points.
And that, you talk about him, wearing down. You see that a lot in high pressure matches. The kid that could run 10 miles, they get gassed in the first period just because they're adrenaline so much. They're like,
and I still got good hip movement. I'm letting him get away a little. My hips didn't stick as tight as they should have, but I'm young.
But I mean, you stayed on him this whole period and part of the first period. I mean, you've not gave him a second to breathe.
Correct. And the whole time you can see it. You're fighting, and he's getting out. He's moving. My hips got to stay on his hips no matter what I do.
Right.
There's no easy way to get it out. And as a top rider, that's what you got to do. You can't let no space happen. If you do, you're in trouble.
Yep, absolutely.
You can see in the first one, I let hips get away. Guess what? I had to re-switch right back with it. So I didn't lose it. But after that, I learned my hips can't be away.
And
right agree. Stay with it.
He tries to stand up right there, but you take him right back down.
Correct.
For as long as you've been on top, and I've cut this down, I've washed it to get ready for it, you have not stalled at all. I mean, you have pushed it the entire period.
He's on the slow side, not me, because I'm trying to work everything I can.
Yep. And this is your first time going down that we've seen you in this match. So at this point in your wrestling career, what was like your go-to reversal, escape, whatever?
Nobody's going to hold me down. Nobody would hold me down. That's my motto. I'm moving no matter what. It is how I ride on the top is the way I was going to be on the bottom. Like I told you, I've never seen this match, but I know myself. Nobody's going to hold me down.
I got you.
I'm going to fight nonstop. I'm going to be moving every minute.
Right out of the gate, he tries like a spiral ride there, trying to break you down. He's trying to pull an arm out right there.
He has hand control. Very good. But my hips are still moving.
No, you're like I said, you're still going. You're like the Energizer Bunny there.
Yep. And we're gonna make stuff happen. Here's our switch.
There it is. So you get your reversal.
Yep.
So now the score is 4-0. You're on top, 4-0.
And now at this point, I can tell my mindset, hey, all I got to do is ride this guy out. I've already rode him 2 periods. I know I can ride this guy out.
Yeah.
I know I can ride this out.
And what I love about these tapes from Atherton that we have is every year that we have video of, the gym is just packed full.
Yep. It's like I said, this was something totally different here that I've ever seen because you had people around the whole mat nonstop.
Mm-hmm. And you're riding here, and you're like you said, you're staying busy with your legs, and you're staying busy with your arm, your hand movement. You're not like just letting him. You're moving. You're working.
Right. I'm not just riding. I'm trying to put stuff together. I mean, he's down and to make it work, he's got to move some for me to make other things happen. Very much I could do. Besides ride.
And I don't know how much time is left in the match, but you're still up 4-0. I've got to imagine there's probably less than a minute 45 seconds, something like that in the match. And
I would have been in trouble if I wouldn't have had hips to hips there. My hips stayed tight. We was good, not in trouble.
and it's a got about 10 seconds left. Hear the crowd counting it down.
Yep. And we're almost there.
And there it is, man.
Yep.
1988 103-pound state champion. Giving the crowd some love.
Yep. First time ever there.
Oh, man. And, I mean, you pushed it. And I kept this part in. You run over to Vidid. He picked you up. Yep. What a great shot.
Did well.
And it has the medal ceremony. And I was wanting to ask you when we get to the here in a second, I was going to ask you about something. You know, I think having all three, the face-off, the match, and the medal ceremony is just so great to include. It's such great visual history.
Yep.
And right here, this jacket that you're getting ready to get, do you remember that?
Yes. Yes. They gave the state champions a jacket.
And that hat, because when it gets to a point here, I'm going to pause it for a second, and I want everybody to see this, because your video is about the clearest shot that we have of one. Because they turn you around right here. I'm not sure who these guys are, but I guess they're getting photos and videos and stuff of you. And right here, the camera zooms in. I'm going to pause it right here.
All right. Yeah.
25th anniversary KHSAA State Wrestling Champion. From what I've been able to find, I have video of 81, 82, 83, 85, 86, 87, 88, and 89.
Correct.
Only years these jackets were given out that I can find was 1988 and 1989. So in theory, there's only, 26? Because there was only 13 weight classes back then. There's only 26 of them. We've talked to Jared Trice. His unfortunately got burned up in the house, so two of them is gone. We're down to 24. Willie Ennels from Hopkinsville, his got burned up in a house fire, so that puts us down to 23. Dave Barnes says his got deteriorated over the years, so they're down to 22. Do you by chance still have this?
No.
Okay, I would love to find one if there's one still in existence just for the historical aspect of it. But it's cool that whatever organization or whatever it was that gave these out, I think this is so cool that you guys got these.
Right, because that was the only year I got the jacket from them. Because the rest of the years I never got a jacket. That was the only year.
And when I was doing this, I was like, man, I wanted to see if Pat remembers or if he still has his or not. But I just wanted to throw that little piece of history out there.
Right.
And I mean, just what a great shot. Just such a piece of history, man. And there you are getting your medal. And there you are getting your bracket.
And we was there. We did it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just a first time on top of the podium. And that's watching it back, all the first time ever seeing it. Does it play out the way you remember it?
Oh, yeah. I remember, like I said, if I went back and looked, I don't know if I ever met him in regular season or not.
Okay.
Because I can't recall my 4 losses in my freshman year. I know one of them was at the King of the Bluegrass, because I think I broke my ankle or I sprained my ankle so bad and lost that. That was my nemesis tournament every year, because the one year I tore my hamstring, the other one I tore my ankle, and everything that year. That would be my first loss of the season, and I always made it to the finals. Never, even through my junior year, I got pulled out of that one. And every year when I went through my senior year, I said, Coach, I don't even know if I want to go to this tournament, because every year I ended up fighting it the rest of the season, because I ended up ankles, hamstrings, everything else. So, yeah, that one, I don't know who I got beat by, but I know I had a loss there, and I don't know where the other losses come from. You know how it is. We try not
Oh
to
yeah,
ever
yeah. I get
don't
it.
like to remember losses.
Yeah. And while we're on that topic, I got your history. 1989, 112 pounds. Like we said, you make it to the finals, come up, 1 point short. It says your bracket was 25, your record, I'm sorry, was 25-2. 1990, 119-pound state champion, 32-4. And then your 1991 undefeated 39-0. So you can tell me if I'm right, but I have your record overall high school 127-11. Does that sound right?
That's probably pretty close. Yeah, if you
Okay.
added in, I think Coach Bidda had it because I was named one of the high school All-Americans, and it was 152-19.
Okay.
That was kind of my 8th grade year too.
Okay. All right. That's what I got off the KHSAA brackets. I just wanted to. Right. I like to ask guys that. And
it's really close.
Connor, of course, like we said earlier, 1983 team state champions, 20 individual state champions. You account for 3 of those. 2 most outstanding wrestlers, Robbie Clarkson in 1981 and Troy Cole in 1984. So, Connor, just a great traditional program. I mean, it's just, Connor's in the building when they come to a wrestling meet.
Yep, we were always that.
And it's great. We were able to get your 1988 video and get it on the channel. And when we find the 1990 state championship video, we'll do your 1990 as well and sit on the porch and watch it and do it again. And
we'll do it.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I'm like I said, glad you're here. Glad I was able to do it. So before we end this one, do you have anything you'd like to say to wrap it up and put a bow on it?
Well, Alex, I appreciate what you do. I mean, I really do.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
It is, in the times that we need these young wrestlers to be able to get out and do the right thing. Right. I mean, it's a sport that's different than any other sport out there. It's one-on-one, like you touched on earlier. It's macho. You can't blame it on nobody else. There's nobody else to blame it on but yourself. So we get more kids doing that. It just makes the society better. It does. Yep. And it teaches work values. It teaches hard work. Mm-hmm. Hard work will pay off. Watch. You go watch these kids wrestle now. And there's times that I walk into the high school building up here and I watch and I'm like, man, these guys don't have the killer instinct that we did, and that might be the old people saying it about the younger generation, but watch our matches. I mean, we were just a lot more brutal, a lot harder, a lot more physical. I mean, I hate to say that, but we were.
And I put you on my Mount Rushmore.
Well, thank you.
Back in I done a Mount Rushmore for all the weights, and I put you on, I believe, for 112 pounds for your I guess that'd be your junior year, or no, wait, 112 pounds. I'm sorry, I put you on 125 pound for 1991 simply because of your guillotines. Well, I'm telling you, those guillotines are historic. I'm not even trying to be funny. I mean, they are. The impact that they had, that people were like, oh God, I can't watch this. Oh, stop the match. Stop it. I mean, you just don't see that kind of stuff nowadays. You just don't. Right. And, as referees, as, one of the veteran officials in the state, we do err on the side of caution. We don't want to see anybody get hurt. We're not, we're not out there to watch somebody get their arm broke or hurt or whatever. But like we said, it's one-on-one combat. And there's nothing wrong with being rough. There's nothing wrong with being physical. It's when you dirty, cheap shot, do something after the whistle, do something that is purposely going to try to break somebody's arm or leg or whatever. That's not going to fly. But if you're out there trying to get a power half and you're tilting or you're trying to torque and,
you got to go. He's got to give.
That's part of the sport.
Well, I was always taught, what? If you're running a guillotine, a guy's going to let you know if it hurts. If not, he's going to give in and turn for you. One of the two. That's just
you're right.
If it starts to hurt too much, he's going to turn for you. He's going to give it to you and let you score.
Self-preservation comes into play there, I believe, a little bit.
Exactly. is everything else. Like I said, I appreciate what you do, and I appreciate you putting me on Mount Rushmore. I appreciate that. That makes me feel good.
And the whenever I put it out, everybody was messaging me about it, and they was like, guillotine guy, guillotine guy, guillotine guy. And actually, your video thumbnail for 1991 is you in that guillotine position. His arm is like almost completely wrapped around your head, and you're looking at, like, I guess Coach Padilla. I mean, he talk about a pretzel hold, buddy. That's what's going on.
Like, Coach, he's got to turn sooner or later. I can't do much more than this. Yeah.
Instead of after wrestling, you could have went into chiropractic adjustments.
Yeah. And
Pat Martz's chiropractic adjustment, first lesson free, right?
Right. Then you watch some of the matches besides like the high school tournament or the state championship. I was a very good wrestler on my feet. I was a very good foot sweep person. I understood balance. I threw a lot. Coach didn't get after me because he's like, hey, you can shoot better than anybody I ever seen. But I always like foot sweeps. I always like wizards, throwing from wizards. I could throw from anywhere on my feet. I had very good balance. So some of those matches you see is not in the high school tournament. You'd see those happen. Yeah. And Coach Padilla said how many air miles that I would give kids. It was terrible, but that was who I was. Yeah. That's the type of wrestler I was. I wasn't a dirty wrestler.
Right.
Coaches,
yeah.
Some of the coaches didn't like me. Some of the coaches didn't like me because I wasn't showboating, but I was a technical wrestler. I'd soon technical fall you, get off the mat, then just take you down, pin you, and be done. But there was motivations behind that because I got rode by the Coles and all those guys because they said I'd never beat none of the records in high school. So there was reasons I was doing that. I got to have points. I mean, Padilla had unbelievable stats. And my goal was, by the time I graduated the senior, I wanted to lead every stat there was. I had some of the quickest pins. I had some of the most takedowns. And I had most of those won by the time I was a senior. So there was reasons behind everything that I did.
And I think if it was either you or Craig brought that book, like the program in, I think it may have been Craig, I think.
Yeah, it was Craig.
And he brought that book in, had like every single stat, every single team, state tournament point scored, everything. I was like, whoa, this is some stats right here. Right. It's pretty kind of cool that, Wayne kept up such good, like you said, good stats. But I think, man, we've covered a lot of ground, and I think we've reached a good ending point. So, Pat, man, like I said, thanks for, joining us and doing this. I really appreciate it, and hope you, enjoyed getting to watch yourself all these years later, man. It was cool to do it. But guys, that's all that I have. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you on the mats.